and tomorrow. Meanwhile, as far as what we have coming up, we'll get to talk with Clemson head coach Sean Poppy in just a little while. You see some players from Notre Dame coming up at 11, the Pitt players at 11:20, and then Jeff Walls at 11:30. But let's stick with Pitt because we've got their head coach, Tory Verdi, here with us now. And Coach, it is good to see you, good to talk to you. We were just talking off camera, and you said, you're getting ready for your third season. You feel like you're building, and it shows that coming off that 13-win season's the most in program history and quite a while there. What's been for you the biggest key to that build and getting to where you guys want to be?
Well, it's about identifying the right players and bringing the right players to the University of Pittsburgh and building that culture and having the buy-in and, finding players who want to be a part of something and do something that's never been done before. And I think that we've done that. I could sit here today and tell you that I know for a fact that our roster is better today than it was the last 2 years. And I'm super excited about that. And so we have 10 new faces. We have 4 returners, 10 new faces, 7 freshmen, and several other transfers who are going to impact our program immediately. So what I've seen thus far from my team, I'm really excited about. I think that we're dynamic. I think that, we address several issues. One of them, our athleticism. And then, the second part would be our skill set. We have players who can, score at all 3 levels. And I'm not sure that, that was the case here the last 2 years.
I was in practice this week. As a matter of fact, not only was in practice, but Coach Verdi let me go all access. Like, I was in his office with my feet up. We were having a big time. Like, he gave me office space to work. I felt like I was.
You guys are buddies.
I just want every coach in the league to know that, like if you go all access with Antonelli, there's some fun stuff that might come out of it. And
it's nice to be Debbie Antonelli.
Right.
So here's what I learned.
And you found your way to my coffee machine, I believe, as well.
I made myself at home.
Absolutely, as you should.
He fed me. He got me coffee. And then we had. I got to watch practice, which was great, and he's absolutely right about what he said. His talent level is up. They were working hard. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to play for you, Tory. I mean, you're so fair. You're disciplined, but it's fun.
Well, I have high expectations, and I'm going to challenge our players. And if you want to be great, you come to University of Pittsburgh, and like I said, I'm very, very transparent. I'm open. I'm honest. And, I'm going to tell my players, the way it is. If they're good, I'm going to tell them that they're good. If they stink, I'm going to tell them that they stink. Because if I don't tell them that, I'm cheating them. And I'm not going to do that.
One of the things I learned while I was in his office was he has this incredible library of videotape and books. And it's you can see you're a huge student of the game. I mean, there's no, dust on any of those videos or books because I checked.
Oh.
I did a little white glove test.
Be careful, all access.
Yeah.
Be careful.
No, why are you such a good student of the game?
I just think that, it's just I've learned so much from, all the other coaches that I've worked for. Mike Tebow, how can you not just be a sponge around Mike Tebow and just learn? And I remember when I first worked for him, I sat in a meeting and I'm like, God, this guy knows so much about the game of basketball. And I was like, I know nothing about it. And so I just, locked in and I figured out a way, like, how can I just grow and learn and, his books and its video. And I locked myself up in a room. And I just continued to grow. And then Connie Yori at the University of Nebraska, I spent a lot of time, just stealing everyone's ideas and then eventually making them my own.
We call it research. We don't call it stealing, right?
R&D, right?
Yeah.
Research and development.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay if you steal somebody else's. I think we all do it. As
flattery,
coaches,
right?
No, absolutely. I think we all do it. I know that there are coaches in the ACC that run some of my play sets. So go for it. And do what you got to do. It's probably doesn't work for them as good as it does for us. But I think we do that as coaches naturally.
Yeah. Well, Coach, one of the things when you're building a program, it's all about the margins. Like, we start to win at the margins. And it's the little things that you need to take attention to detail. Last year, you guys lost 4 games by less than 10 points, right? The margins of details. It's possession by possession.
Sure.
It's one steal. It's one turnover or one less turnover. What are some of those things that you're preaching to your roster this year?
I think, the biggest thing is we're just trying to win the day, right? So what does that look like? That's practice. If you win the day, you're growing your team. You're preparing them to be successful, for those games in the ACC. And the more wins you can have throughout the course of your week of practice, it just develops and it gives them the confidence that they need, so that when you do go into ACC play or any games, they know like, okay, you know what? Practice was really easy. The games, they're simple. And that's the, that's the kind of culture, that I'm trying to put forth for our players.
Pitt is a steel city, right? It's blue collar, it's gritty, it's tough, and your team does reflect that. When you're selling or in the portal or you're trying to get people to understand what you want them to know about Pitt, what are the things that you're 2 or 3 things that you're really selling hard?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is player development. When you look at, the players that we've developed and, the players that I've worked with and developed throughout, my tenure as a coach, you got Sam Breen, who was at the University of Massachusetts, who you've known and watched a lot, just growing and become the A-10 Player of the Year. And then we had Hadijah Faye and Leah King. This is the first time that Pitt has ever had 2 players on, the first team all ACC back-to-back years. And so, we invest in our players, and that's what we communicate to them. And so you look at all the players, Michaela Johnson, who came and transferred from Colorado, her scoring's up 10 plus. So we invest in them. We look at their strengths, and we take advantage of their strengths while we're developing their weaknesses.
The other thing I really liked about your practice, Tory, is I heard every coach's voice in practice, that you didn't have to be the only voice in practice. Why is that important? Because you have a young staff.
Absolutely. I think I don't want to monopolize the entire practice, because if you're always the one who's always talking, sometimes your players are just going to tune you out. It's important for your coaches to be validated, but also I delegate and I give them the responsibilities. And I have a great staff. I have a hardworking staff, and, they're invested in, and our players need to see that as well. I can't control everything. So I let my staff, I hire them, I allow them to work, and I let them do their jobs. And I just kind of oversee them.
The other thing, too, Kelsey, is every good team has to have a good scout team. And your boys that are in the gym were balling. Yeah. I mean, they were serious, and they took it serious, and they were competing.
Yes, absolutely. We need that. They make us better each and every single day. And so, we're really hard. I'm really hard on Brandon Jackson, who oversees our scout team, and he makes sure that he goes out and he finds the talent that we need. But we need a scout team that's committed each and every single day, and we compete against them, and our players love to beat them down. Now, it's not all the time, so we have to understand that, but the competitiveness between our scout team and our players, it's just great to see.
I love seeing those relationships develop, especially when you're there and you're getting to see it firsthand, Debbie, at practice. Coach, you mentioned how much you love developing players, and obviously it's important that you have some star players back and bringing in some talent from the transfer portal. But when you have these 7 freshmen, how much are you licking your chops to get them in there and really get your hands on them so that they can become big contributors for what you want to do?
Well, the first part is, they're invested. I don't have to bring them into the gym. They're already in the gym, and I think that's the difference. That's the type of players that they are. They want to be great, and they're just waiting, and they want to be around it, and they want to be great. So the one thing that's really different is just the coachability, and so they show up each and every single day, and they may not understand concepts and ideas and this, that. They may not be help side, or they may not rotate over, help the helper. But what I can tell you is that they show up and they work extremely hard each and every single day. For me, that's a win. We'll work on concepts. We could teach all that, but their effort that they bring, that's the difference, and that's why our program is growing.
I love this energy, right? You can tell that practices are off the charts. You got a great roster of new players. Who is jumping off the page early on in practice?
I mean, I could go down,
It's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. I was asked the question, well, who's your best player? And I can't sit here and tell you that. I think we're going to be by committee. I think that with this year's team, we're going to have a different, leading scorer each and every single game. Our freshmen, I may have 2 freshmen who are going to start for us this year. We know a constant is Michaela Johnson. We know that, she has a knack for scoring. Fatima, who transferred from, our starting center, player, who transferred in from Georgia, played in every single game in the SEC last year. We expect her, to be, just a big presence for us, on the interior. But I could go down the line. Angel Jones, who came in and transferred from Coppin State, averaged 14 points a game for them. I think she's probably going to be one of the most dynamic scorers for us. She's a little itty-bitty, but she could put the ball in the basket, and she's so quick. So, we have all that. We haven't even talked about Nyla Wilson, who was ranked 30th in the country. The first, we had 2 players that we brought in, 2 freshmen who were ranked in the top 100, with her and Teresa. We haven't had that before. Nyla's the highest ranking player that we've ever brought to the University of Pittsburgh. These guys are ballers. Not only are they ballers, but they love the game of basketball. And so I could go down, down the list. I think that our depth is something that I haven't seen before. At other places that we've won championships, our depth was, to be honest with you, is 7 to 8. We're literally, I feel confident right now that we could possibly play, 11 and 12 players. That's unheard of. But, to tell you and sit before you right now and say, she's our best player, I can't do that. I think we're going to see, a bunch of players go out on a nightly basis and be successful.
It is infectious, right? It's October 7th, right? We're ready to work on some closeouts, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think we've worked on those closeouts already.
I don't really want to work on
closeouts. You're talking about defense? I know. Wait a minute. Debbie's talking about defense right now.
But, Tory, part of our challenge in settings like this is not just to strategize, but to humanize.
Sure.
And you have a family, and your family is a big part of what you do, including
Sure.
your kids that are attending Pitt as well. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, so I have 3 children, and I have my oldest son, Tyler, who is a sophomore at the University of Pittsburgh, and then my daughter is a freshman, and that's Avery. And then so both of those guys are attending Pitt, and I love it because I see them throughout the day and so forth. Sometimes I'll cook and then bring food over to them as well. But it's just great to see them, at the Peterson Event Center throughout the day, and I could just be there for them. And then my youngest son is Braden. He's a sophomore in high school. So those guys are, are very important, obviously, to myself, my wife. But family is really important, and so, my culture and the culture that, I'm trying to put forth at the University of Pittsburgh with our team is we're all inclusive, as you know. We're all inclusive. And so, yes, the players are on our team, they're not my daughters, but they are my daughters because I'm there to take care of them each and every single day. And then I have an unbelievable wife that I've been married for 29 years.
Wow.
And so, been there every step of the way and super supportive. I could not do this job and raise a family without her. So she's the one who's really important.
That pasta in the Tupperware in the refrigerator looked pretty good.
You were getting in the refrigerator?
I was almost
Coach,
there.
I'm trying to come up there and have some Italian chicken. I won't dust off your bookshelf or anything like that. I'll mind my manners a little longer.
You're always welcome.
Thank you so much for the time, and look forward to see what you guys are able to do this
Appreciate
season.
you guys.
Thanks.